All right, we are back at it on the Success Flow podcast, and we have a guest that has been in the mix for a while and had some rescheduling due to our part, but we're here. We are going to be talking a lot of Jiu Jitsu today and athletics because we have Fred Suniga of Soul Jiu Jitsu, where I am lucky enough to train under his guidance. And Fred, we're on, finally made it. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be on the show with you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope the week's going well for you.
Dude, the week is awesome. I'm so excited. I'm more excited than Phil is to have you on because I want to hear all the stories about how you beat him up on a weekly basis. He sends us text messages in this group text we got of him, like, just got done with the grappling session and he's all beat up. He's got black eyes. He's sweaty. He looks like he's about to die. And you're the one behind the scenes there doing that to him. So this is going to be great. We get to hear some of those stories. But no, I appreciate you jumping on. And jiu-jitsu is something that I don't know much about. I mean, I've seen it on TV, and so I'm excited to learn and just kind of pick your brain on some of that. But I think before we get into the actual jiu-jitsu stuff, we should kind of get to know Fred. So kind of give us a little bit of background, where you're from and what you're up to and how you got to where you are today.
For sure. So for me, I'm a local guy. I'm from Phoenix. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. And all from the same mom and dad, which it's kind of funny when I tell people I have 3 younger siblings because they're like, oh, like your mom remarried? I'm like, no. Like they're same dad, same mom. We all grew up together. I'm a military brat, so we moved around a lot. Every like 2 or 3 years, we're probably in a different city. My high school years was probably what I'd say that got me refocused like into martial arts as well as into like just sports in general, because we moved overseas for the first time in Japan. And that's when I kind of started picking up wrestling a lot more versus like when I was doing it here in the States, where like I loved it and I would do it year round. But to me, it was still like a hobby. And like even in high school, it was still like fun to do, right? But there were so many good opportunities overseas and so many people I got to meet. Back in 2020 for the Olympics, one of the gold medalists I actually had the opportunity to train with. I
That's awesome.
Pronounce his name worth anything, but he was always such a nice guy. We were teens together. He's a little bit older than me. I think he's about maybe 2 years older now. So he's 31 and I'm 29. But yeah, it was cool to see him on the Olympic network and like not only wrestling, but like dominating the way that he did. So it's pretty awesome to see all that. But yeah, moving around a lot, it builds your character. And me being the oldest, I kind of had to be like that third parent with my parents because my dad, being in the military, he's either working long days or, he has to have watch duty or, eventually what happened, he ends up going on a deployment and then it's just me and my mom and then, 3 little ones. And, it's kind of crazy because like I'm 29, I'll be 30 next March. The youngest one, he's 15 or going to be 15. Yeah. So he's a freshman in high school and it's crazy. And I have a sister who's 17, she's a senior. And then I have a 24-year-old brother. So we're kind of aged, pretty big gaps in age. It's nuts.
Which has probably helped with the amount of leadership that you've taken on at the studio, at the gym these days with, the younger folks in the class, which I have pitched Steven on getting. Jack's already so involved in athletics, but I would love to see him come into one of your classes just to check it out one of these days. But that has to help. You have a natural gift, which we'll talk to in a little bit, to level with these kids with that balance that we talk about of discipline, but having fun, which is that's what coaching's all about for younger kids. Has that impacted that a lot, I'd imagine?
Yeah, definitely. Because if the way that I've learned from friends that I know that have coached kids in general is the minute you start like yelling at a kid, you lost them already for that day. Like if you come at them like a drill sergeant or like a drill instructor, they're going to tune you out like, oh, this guy hates me. Like, why should I listen to him? You know? But at the same time, there has to be that kind of like order, like, hey, like if I'm showing you this, you really need to pay attention. Because then, you know, when you need to do it yourself and then you have to come and ask me to show it to you again when I just showed it to the whole class, it becomes kind of like, well, were you paying attention or were you just goofing off with your buddies, you know? So there's still some order that we have to have in the school, right? Because it is a learning environment, just like regular school. But we still want it to be fun for the kids. You know, we still want them to enjoy learning jujitsu. And sometimes, like some days, like if they train really hard, we reward them with a game and they have fun. And then, you know, they leave a lot better than when they came in, you know? So it's factors of, like you said, Phil, like that balance that, you know, we still got to teach, you know, what we need to teach, but we still need to let them have fun and still be kids, especially the younger ones, you know, the very little ones like 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, you know, they're just happy to be there. They may not understand how to do this choke just yet, but I think they understand like they're learning and having fun doing it.
Are these kids competing at a high level already at this point, or is it just kind of teaching them the technique and giving them some confidence in through the sport?
So majority do come like at a beginner level to learn, but we have some studs in our kids class. We have a 6-year-old named Nixon. He competes in every tournament under the sun. And
that's crazy.
I mean,
what's the youngest? What's the youngest competitor? How old are they?
Probably about like 5 or 6.
No way. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And these kids, when you see it in the class, what I love about it is when they show up, like a class is run, there is a hierarchy of where you rank from a belt perspective, but more so than that, you can see how when the instructor's talking, they most snap to attention. And if they don't, they're watching their peers and doing like we do as kids, mapping to the leader of the group. And if they get that leader aligned, there's this awesome part of jiu-jitsu that everyone is equal on the mats from the opportunity that's in front of you, and the discipline that's required to take instruction and convert instruction is so applicable to life as you're taking it back into the classroom, taking it to the playground, all the above. So Fred's he's helped Austin, who we want to talk about here in a little bit, as we talk about mentorship a lot on the podcast, but helping take some of that off of Austin, and he has a natural gift for it.
Yeah, and then I just want to give like a special like shout out to 2 of our like assistant coaches. These 2 young individuals, McCartney, who's another very high level like juniors competitor. She's 14. She helps us out with the little kids, and then Bennett, who's another stud 17-year-old. We actually brought him into our staff as a kids coach. So he's making some solid money just helping us take care of the kids. And he's actually really good. He has a natural eye. He's really great with kids. I think, and it goes back to him being an older brother as well. He's just really good. And like last week, Austin went on a family trip, like a family camping trip. So I was running things at the gym. So Bennett was like my number 2, you know, he was me to what I am to Austin. You know, so he definitely helped me a lot when when a lot of people would think, you know, running a gym by yourself is very stressful, which it is. I don't know how Austin did it for the 2 years that we've had Soul open, but it's insane. But it was a great experience, especially with the little ones, you know, because you still got to be that authoritative figure, but you still got to make sure they're understanding what you're trying to teach.
And for reference there, shout out to Bennett, like rolled with him a number of times. And Steven, he's literally half my weight probably. And without like using sheer weight and, that using technique, like not even close to being able to get him in any situation like that he even close to submission. Like it's just, he made it the longest rounds of my life. This kid is so good, so fast.
That's crazy. Yeah. So the walrus method doesn't work on a guy like that. You just lay on him and hopefully he doesn't beat you up. Okay, so you're teaching these guys, you're teaching these kids, and I've done a little bit of research, not like as much as I know about jiu-jitsu. I came across gi versus no gi. What is the difference between the two? And am I even saying it right? Is it gi?
No,
it's gi. Gi or no gi?
There you go.
Okay, so this is so don't judge me just yet. We could go to the basketball court one of these days. But this is really interesting stuff. Yeah, so gi versus no gi. What is the difference there, and why is there two different?
How is it separated? Okay, so gi is like the foundation of jiu-jitsu, right? That's like when it started. When it comes to gi, there's a lot of gripping. Like if you watch like the Olympics this year, like with the judo aspect where they're grabbing material to throw. Similar stuff like that, but now you're using that to manipulate your opponent's body, especially when you grab a hold of someone's collar and you're able to choke them with it. I've been the receiving end of a few. Those aren't fun.
I bet
it's a lot slower, and it's honestly a lot more technical than no gi versus no gi, where there's no kimono. It's a rash guard and shorts. For the most part, some people like to compete shirtless. I've never understood why. With that, it's more of like the scrambling aspect of jiu-jitsu. I've rolled with guys in no gi, and they're so damn sweaty that if I even grab onto their leg, they just slip right out. And then I look like you look like a seal. Like freaking sliding all over the place at like a water show and stuff. Especially in a pool of sweat, which Phil has seen me and Austin train together, and it literally looks like a damn water park at the end of training.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So gi is like the outfit, or like the what you wear. That's essentially what it is. So no gi is just okay, got it. And you prefer gi?
So I've been training no gi since I basically started jiu-jitsu. I didn't start training in the gi till last year when I started training with Austin. And I tell you what, the first month of training gi, I'm like, I hate this. I don't like it. It's the stupidest shit in the world. Why can't I get past somebody's legs and all they have to do is grab my fucking shirt? I hate it. But Austin, being the wise, Jedi of jiu-jitsu that he is, he's like, it will make your no-gi game better. And it really has. So preference-wise, I really don't really have much of a preference now. If you would ask me this question a year ago, I'd be like, I love no gi. I freaking hate the gi. Don't ever ask me to put it on. But for me now, I love them both equally because I teach them both. I mainly teach no gi during the week, but on Saturday mornings I teach the gi. I think I have more knowledge in no gi versus the gi, but I'm still learning as I go in the gi. So it takes time. But I think I can ask like 3 of my friends and they'll tell you they like no gi more than the gi. But I always say I like them both equally. So I don't really have a preference.
Have you ever seen that movie Along Came Polly where Philip Seymour Hoffman's shooting hoops and Ben Stiller gets like his whole chest full of sweat, like down his face? Like that's what I'm envisioning when you're talking about the mat being soaking wet. Like does that like affect you? Like if there's like a super sweaty dude that you're grappling with and it's like, this is kind of gross, or it's not even like, you don't even think about it because you're just so in the zone?
I mean, we all know how gross it is. So I've learned to accept it. I mean, I've had Austin sweat in my mouth before, and it is what it is, And I'm like, I'm just like, oh, it's salty. I'm like, dehydrated to death.
Oh, that's gonna be a great clip. That's gonna be a great clip to share.
You gotta take it as you go.
You gotta go.
It is what it is.
But honestly, but Steven, that you bring up a good point there, because it's literally like the first week of classes and you get over it, because it's, again, humans acclimate to anything, and you are in such close quarters, and the positions you're getting in with other like teammates, you just get over it, because that's what it's going to be. If you wind up in an altercation, the more comfortable you're in it, then the better it is in real life. So
yeah, I've always learned just to always make a little funny joke about stuff like that, just to like break the ice and let them know, like, oh, or like another teammate I have, Renee, he was like sweating bullets, and I'm over here just using him as my uke to show a move. And I'm like, geez, Renee, like, how much water you drink today? And he's like, a lot. And I'm like, I could tell, like, you got to break the ice and have fun. And it goes back to like kind of going like left field, like when it comes to training with women too, I always hear this all the time. Like, I was actually at a restaurant yesterday after training, and guy's like, oh, because he saw my shirt. I was wearing a jiu-jitsu shirt, which normally I don't do in public, but it's like they're free tournament shirts, so they're all the clothes I have. But he's like, oh, like, how's it like with training with girls, like you get to be all over them. I'm like, honestly, like, I don't even look at them like that. Like, the minute I step on that mat,
that was a weird
teammates,
question.
Yeah, like, I'm just like, well, he was kind of a sus dude too. Yeah. So I'm just kind of like, well, I was like, you know what? Like, they're my teammates. Like, I honestly, like, there's some day, like, I have very good female teammates that I train with. And honestly, they're some of my favorites because they know that I'm a lot stronger than them physically, but they appreciate the fact that I'm using more technique, And honestly, they're getting stronger too. Like Jackie, she's a freight train of a woman. I think she's like a solid, like 175, 180 pound girl.
She's really good.
But just like all muscle, and she's strong, and like they're, in the past I'd be like playful, and now I'm like, oh, I can't be playful with you anymore. You're actually like trying to like kick my ass today. And so I work with her like once a week privately just to get her game better. And then I have another teammate, Emily, who, she's also very strong, but she's like the polar opposite of Jackie. Jackie likes to smash and pass. Emily plays guard and likes to attack your feet, So with those two, it's kind of fun in the sense of it's a challenge, like, okay, yes, they're females, but they're also purple belts in jiu-jitsu. So I need to be careful because they can still kick my butt, and it goes back to that rolling with women, rolling with teammates. Like, at first, yeah, it's a little uncomfortable. And I've met women who, and like little girls that aren't as comfortable rolling with, people of the opposite sex just yet. But it's like, hey, you know what? Just take your time, ease into it. Because sometimes I'll even roll, like if it's a girl and she's new, I'll go with her just to show her, hey, you know what? We know how to respect each other. I was like, and you're probably in the safest hands with me or Austin, And it takes a lot of time and effort, but if it means that they come back every day to come training and they enjoy it, then so be it,
Yeah, you guys are really good at it. When you and I were talking and you brought up, I remember we were kind of in between sets and you're like, oh, checked out the podcast. It was great. It was awesome because we get that a lot. People that you don't know are listening. And when you said that, I was like, well, you should be on. And the main reason, and I told you that then, is this whole podcast is for people that are defining success for themselves. Literally taking life and designing it to what they truly want, to their strengths, to their, really making it their story. And you just recently made that commitment to full alignment, both in competition, your income, going to the gym full time, and are living that life of alignment. Like, it is jiu-jitsu, it is teaching, it is competing. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about the in-between, what brought you to that point? After education, know that you studied a bit of kinesiology and physical training, and obviously athletics have been a part of the whole thing. But you also used your expertise in security up until this point, and just talk about your mindset as you realized and really went all in to commit to a life of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Education wise, like after high school, I wasn't really like, because a lot of people, they rely on sports to be like, they're, oh, this is my chance to go to college for free and stuff like that. It's a little different for kids that are military and overseas. I wasn't really like heavily like recruited. I think I had like a D3 offer for wrestling, but it wasn't a full ride and it was out of state. It was in Iowa, which we all know that's wrestling country, but that's, out of state tuition. I think they would have covered like maybe my first year of college there, and I couldn't do that to my parents. They have 4 kids, so we moved back to Arizona, and kind of just did my JUCO levels of studying and athletics. I still wrestled a little bit my like first 2 years of college. After that, like my first 2 years of JUCO. I honestly just got burnt out because I was doing so many classes just to get my degree, that I was like, man, I really need to step back. And I remember seeing like ads for like the sheriff's office for, law enforcement. So I was working security. So I did a lot of private security, working at bars too, being a door guy. And this was like, I was still a little bit of wrestling, but then I started kind of falling off of combat sports. Um, I was just lifting weights, being a weekend warrior, just wanting to look good for the girls. Um, then I'd say late 2017, early 2018, I came across a man named Jimmy House, who is a good friend of mine, and he's my strength and conditioning coach now. I just thought it was incredible. This power lifter doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And I mean, Jimmy's just a freak athlete. He's on his way to being a really great performer in the professional wrestling scene. And then I just remember just saying, I'm like, wow, that's so cool. Like this big, strong dude's doing jiu-jitsu. And so I just kept lifting weights, and slowly I went to a fitness convention locally and I met Jimmy, and I thought it was really cool to meet, somebody locally who I look up to. And then it led to going to like these Friday night deadlift parties with these guys. And then we went to CT Fletcher's gym, Iron Addicts. It was an event called Iron Wars, where big powerlifting event, you throw on the weight and try to pick it up. So that was cool to go with them and be a part of that. And then what led to just me lifting and being almost 300 pounds. I mean, it was insane. And then finally, like I'd say like May of 2019, Jimmy shoots me a text because he started teaching at a MMA gym full time. He's like, hey man, like you should probably, since you want to do law enforcement, you should probably like get back into grappling again. And honestly, it literally all it takes is just like that one thing, like somebody to just kind of be like, hey, you should do this. I was in the gym the next day. I signed up, got completely destroyed in my first day of rolling. It was an open mat. It was Memorial Day open mat. And I'm like, man, I really don't know a whole lot. And I just go out there and just get obliterated by, everybody. And I was like, okay, yeah, I need to get back to this because I felt so defenseless, so helpless, And then it just led to me training with Jimmy, and just, and while I was doing that, that's when I pursued my career in law enforcement. I became a detention officer with the county for about 2 years. That was a rough 2 years because then COVID became a thing, and having to, take a test, having to do all these like protocols, wearing a mask when, it's so hot in there. I remember one of my units, like the AC went out, and I was just like, dude, like I'm going to like cook in here. And eventually, after 2 years, I kind of got burnt out from it. So I moved on, went back to doing private security again. Still continuing my training. I mean, I worked nights, so I would be crawling into the gym basically, or, I'd get a couple hours rest and then I'd go lift and then go do jiu-jitsu. And then right before I had to go work, that's when I would, go train. So I'd give myself some time to go get ready for work. go do my 10-hour shifts, go back home, do the same thing, and just kept going on till about 2022. Was kind of like, I started at the gym that Jimmy was at. Eventually, it just started kind of turning into like I needed to find a way to kind of step up my game. And usually, like when you're trying to come up with stuff like that, in that sense, it's really tough because it's primarily an MMA school. So, they have to have all aspects of it. And I slowly just wanted to be a very good jiu-jitsu competitor. So I went to an open mat with Soul, ran by Austin, who I've met before and I've trained before during the COVID time, like in the garage. And I've always seen Austin as a great guy, a great competitor, and a genuine, just like good ambassador for the sport because he's this big, strong, really great competitor, but he's also a very nice human being. And I went to Seoul one day in my no gi stuff because I didn't train gi yet, and rolled with him, Samir, and a couple of other guys, and just loved the atmosphere. I was like, wow, this is really nice. And he didn't have to pressure me. He just said, hey man, if you ever wanted to come train here, you're more than welcome to, and we'd love to have you. And I was like, oh, okay. And then the next day I like texted Jimmy. I was like, dude, I went here. I love the environment. I'm probably going to switch over here. And that was enough said for me. I was like, you know what? I bought in. I'm going to move here. So then, I switched teams. I went, trained under Austin since last January. And then, I was still working 2 jobs. I was still doing door work and doing weekly security to just pay for, my day-to-day living as well as like going to tournaments. And then, I'd say it was after when I did my first gi tournament, which was the state championships for gi, and I won it. And I remember just telling Austin, like, dude, like, I want to train hard and I want this to be my life one day. And he goes, oh, really? And like, he has that look like, yeah, you really want to do this? You want to make this your life, huh? And I'm like, I do. Like, I want what you have, and I get to come in here every day, train, and like just be happy training, And he's like, okay, well, you're going to have to give me a lot of your time. And I did, man. Like, I would get home from work. I'd get home around like 7 a.m. I'd go straight to sleep. I'd get up right around like 1 o'clock, right around noon, eat something really quick and drink, make sure I'm hydrated. And then I go train with Austin for 2 hours, from 1 to 3. And then I'd go home, relax, get what I need, and then refuel my body, and then go back and do the night class before I had to go to work. Yeah. So I did that. Yeah, I did this roughly for about 8-9 months, and then what led to me becoming a full-time employee through Soul was Austin taught every class under the sun, including the weekends. And then he just offered me like, hey man, like, if I pay you, some money, would you teach a Saturday morning class? I'm like, yeah, sure. So then that led to me teaching Saturdays. And then, he really liked the fact that I was teaching, that class. And then, I was still working full time and still doing that because that's what I love. And then after Nogi Worlds, that's when he kind of sat down and was like offering, asking me about salary. Like, he's like, man, like, what do I need to do to get you in here full time? And I was like, dude, like, I understand that, the money is going to be pretty humbling in the beginning, but we'll make it work and we'll get the student count that we need. I'm like, I know it's going to take a minute, but I'm all in. Like, I don't want to work night security anymore.
So pause in there. Pause in there. That is one of the things that I wanted to call out here, and that I think that society has lost a little bit in regard to, sure, we have internships now for corporate, like hedge fund folks have to do internships. I found my craft with an internship at Master Techs where I met Steven, but this is more back to how society and mastery of craft started was apprenticeship. was zero pay to learn a craft. And that's what I love about your situation is you are doing that. Robert Greene in the book Mastery talks about it being the real way. And I think that you're going to see a lot more younger people today who want to be content creators, who want to be influencers, whatever they want to do in this virtual world is going to work for free under someone who has mastered craft or is close to mastering their craft and then duplicating it, putting their own spin on it. So I just wanted to make that call out here because we talk about apprenticeship and who you surround yourself with. And you're just a perfect example of truly designing your life around that and making an apprenticeship work in the modern era.
Well, and it built the foundation for your discipline and consistency to get to where you are today. Like you put in the work, you've obviously been very successful in the sport. You've gone up the ranks. It seems like each year you're going from a new color belt to the, to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. And you're seeing that success and currently brown belt now. So kind of talk about how does one achieve the next level in terms of like going from blue belt to purple belt to brown belt? Like, do you have to win competitions in order to do that? How is, not only do you go up the ranks or, and also to the second question of that is, what's the competition like when you get up to that next? Is it like the first tournament? You're like, holy crap, this is like night and day from what it was when I was down here, and now I'm at this level. And then you continue to challenge yourself to get better.
Right. No, that's a really good question. In terms of rankings, when it comes to so just for like the general public to understand, so the first belt you're given as like beginner is the white belt, right?
Perfect.
That belt signifies that you're beginning jiu-jitsu, right? You bring it with you every day. If the coaches are seeing that you're consistency and you're with your learning, not just like, you don't have to win in training, you don't have to win in the training room. They just need to see that you're willing to learn. So you start getting your stripes, you get your 4 stripes on your white belt. That kind of lets people know like you're about to be blue belt. And I always saw it as like, as I came up from white to blue while I was getting my stripes, I just noticed like, once I got to my 4th stripe on my white belt, I was kind of, a lot of the higher belts would take it easy on me because they're like, oh, he's still learning. The minute they put that 4th stripe on me, they're like, oh, he's about to get to the next rank. Okay, I need to beat him up now.
See what he's made of.
Even more. Yeah. So it's kind of like an aha moment for me because I have a couple of white belts that are about to be blues too. And I kind of turned it up on them too. But so you go in that aspect of, you're getting your stripes, you're just putting in the work every day and also like willing to learn, willing to challenge yourself. A competition doesn't necessarily determine whether you become a white to blue belt or, the next rank. It's more of like the experience on the mat. You're getting that like real life experience.
So is it the coaches that are giving it to you as you earn it, or is there some sort of association that says, hey, you've now qualified for this level? It's more of the coaching.
No, it's more of the coaching. I mean, you'll have organizations like, I guess they try to make it like, oh, like you're, you're about to be a blue belt or you're about to be a brown belt, stuff like that. Really, it just comes down to what your coach sees in you. And it like, when it comes to that, just trust your coach. If they put a certain belt on you, it's because they think you're ready. And now it's your responsibility as the person that receives it to kind of live up to, that belt. You can't just get a blue belt. Yeah. That's why I think blue belt's the most important one because it's the first one you earn because that's you understanding the basic knowledge of jiu-jitsu and stuff like that and understanding how it works. It's also the toughest belt because the minute you get your blue belt, a lot of people tend to disappear and they're like, oh, well, I know everything I need to know. It's like all those joking videos you see. With purple belt, it's like you're kind of a little bit more advanced. You're kind of understanding the basic concepts to an extent, right? But now you're kind of throwing your own spin on it. That's the way I've always looked at purple. For me, when I went from white to blue, I remember I did a white belt tournament my first ever jiu-jitsu tournament. Won it. And then, the week after I got promoted, to blue belt. Um, with blue belt, I was kind of like, man, like, I don't know, we'll see. So I did another blue belt tournament, won that one. And then from that tournament, I should have just went to the ADCC, like West Coast trials, which that's ADCC, like, the World Cup of grappling. And if you win the trials, you're pretty much like considered one of the best grapplers in the world.
And you won the trial? You won the trials?
No. God, no.
What's the craziest story you've had on the mat? Like, have you had where you just absolutely dominated somebody, or you got your butt kicked and you learned from it? Or was there anything like out of the norm that's happened to you that would just be really interesting to know?
Well, I've had my fair share of losses. I wouldn't say necessarily getting my butt kicked. I mean, on a points level, I definitely got dominated.
You don't strike me as a guy who gets his butt kicked very, very often.
No. Yeah. And it happens, wins and losses. But the most important thing is like you learn from it, right?
Yeah.
Particularly like this year at brown belt, I've been competing a lot. Learning as I go, especially like in the gi. I competed a lot in the gi earlier this year, going against guys who have been doing it way longer than me. I take it more as like, like the stinging, like it stings to lose, you never want to lose, but it's just part of it. And I believe Austin says it well, where, you can't control the outcome. You can only control what you can do and like how you prep for it. I could always say like, oh, these guys are well more experienced, because brown belt is basically like junior black belt. And I fought guys that have been brown belts for like 5+ years. And in a way, I'm kind of what you considered like a fast track brown belt, because I was only a purple belt for about a year and a half. And then Austin threw a brown belt on me, last December. So I haven't even put a year mark on the brown. Thank you. When he was talking about it, fun fact about it last year, he's like, like brown belt, that's where you get the big opportunities, in terms of teaching and competing, because no one gives a shit about you at purple unless you're one of these purple belts who are just dominating, everybody, even beating black belts, they don't really care. They care about brown and black. And I was like, man, like that's such a big step. And he's like, well, it's kind of my call. Like, he's like, why? And I was like, no, why? And he points to his black belt. And I just thought it was always funny that, to this day, I always cracked up. He's like, well, it's kind of my call. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like that's a tall order, but he threw the brown belt on me, and I was like, okay, well, I'm in it
like
now.
A little nudge to challenge yourself on purpose. I love it. So what's next? What's next, Fred? Are you going for the black belt and trying to get to the top of the sport, or what's next for you?
So right now, just continue to get better. We have the No-Gi Pan Americans in Fort Worth, Texas in November. So I'll be, training hard, doing my private sessions to fund it. Eventually I'm working on doing a seminar with a local gym, soon. When that happens, I'll definitely let you guys know, because that's going to be fun. I've never done a seminar or like a clinic before. It's kind of like how, like with seminars, you're showing what you love to people that, may not necessarily do that stuff, but you show them it just to kind of pick their brain and be like, hey, look, here's some techniques that you may not ever use, but, it's something that you can try. So I'm working out the details with the owner of that. And then, the eventual goal is No-Gi Worlds at the end of the year in December. And then probably take a little break, take a week off from just training and let my body heal and rest, and spend some time with my family and my friends. Kind of get out of the environment of like training like a madman for a week, relax. And then in terms of the black belt, I mean, you're going to have to just talk to Austin, because I have no control over that. If he throws it on me, within the next 2 years, that's great. if I'm a brown belt for 10 years, it's even better because that means I'm just getting better. The one thing I've always learned is just to always kind of take things in stride. Um, you know, it's always tough in a result matter that you're not winning matches or, you know, you're not kind of performing the way that you want to, but it's one of those, like, it's an unforgiving sport in that sense. You know, you could be prepping, training hard, and next thing you know, you lose a match in like 20 seconds. Yeah. And, you know, it's not a fun feeling. It's not fun to lose. I'll tell you that much. The competitor in me always wants to win. But if I can always go out there and know that I gave it my all, I can, you know, leave with my head high. It's when I feel like I don't perform well, that's when I kind of take it personal on myself. But I always kind of tell people this, like, I'm not a sore loser. Like, to me, a sore loser is a guy that, you know, doesn't even shake his opponent's hand or, you know, gives him the finger and, you know, says F off. I'm a very bad loser, as in I'll still shake hands. I'll, you know, walk away and kind of just need my space, you know, to kind of comprehend. And, you know, I'll be upset, you know, with myself. But to me, like, there's a difference because people are like, oh, like, why are you so upset at yourself? And I'm like, no, like, I could have done better, you know, and it's still stuff that I'm still learning how to, you know, take in stride. And it comes with time, you know.
On that note, Fred, with like on that, like the journey, we ask everyone the question. It's kind of our flagship question as we wrap. I'm really curious about yours because we haven't had this talk after all the bad talks and whatnot. What is success in your words from Fred Suniga's mindset?
So to me, success is the way you impact other people. You know, did you leave a good impact in your community? Because at the end of the day, like, when it's my time to leave this world and, you know, hopefully another like 60 years, you know, 60, 70 years of my life, I want it to be like, wow, this guy really, not only was he, you know, a good competitor, you know, he loved the people around him. He loved helping, you know, the students. He loved helping his friends, you know. To me, success isn't based on how much money you make or how many world championships you have in your life. It's how you affected those that are around you, you know. And if I could say one thing, for me, success is knowing that I left everything and led by example out there for everyone to see, and that they kind of pick up what I showed to the world, and then they kind of carry that on, you know, for years to come.
Well, dude, no doubt you embody that. That was a great answer. The way you give back to the community, teaching the kids and focused on the goals that you have, you embody that work ethic, that discipline, that consistency, and you are making an impact. I can already tell. You make an impact on my podcast partner here, Mr. Crawford. He talks about you quite a bit. So I do appreciate you jumping on, man. This was a really cool conversation. And I think we'll wrap right there, guys. I think that was a great episode, a great pod. And Fred, where can, if anyone wants to get into jiu-jitsu, where can they find, is it open for business? Anyone can jump on board and learn how to grapple with you. How can they get connected?
Yeah. So our doors are always open for everyone, kids, teens, adults. It's a school, or our school name is Sol, SOL, like sun in Spanish, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. You can look us up on solbjj.com. Our Instagram is Sol Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Phoenix. And, you know, we're open Monday through Saturday from, you know, the afternoons all the way till at night, Monday through Friday. Saturdays, we're open from 10 to 12. So you get your early morning session, and then, you know, you can go out and have a good time on Saturdays and Sundays. And, yeah, it's open to everybody. We're located off of 7th Street in Glendale in Central Phoenix. So anybody in the area or close to the area, come check us out.
We'll link to all those in the show notes to make it easy for the listeners. And thanks again, Fred. And yeah, this was a great episode. Has me itching to get back on the mats. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Fred. Go get them, man. Keep it up.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.